Hello, friends, and welcome back to the second episode of the Stranger Story podcast. And today we are talking about engagement. Uh, well, uh, with me, my co-host Haikel Latiff is still here. Say hi, Haikel.
Hello, everyone.
So Haikel actually came up with this topic and talking about engagement, because we are living at present time. It's everyone is running for engagement. We are concerned about why our content is not getting a lot of engagement. And in this podcast, we'll be talking about what is engagement, why it's important for your business, and basically sorts of examples and real life campaigns to figure out like how you can get relevant engagement basically. So Haikel, engagement, what's up?
That's a very good question, actually. What's up? Because I think everybody's trying to answer the same question or are trying to ask the same question. It's just a question of, the thing is how everyone's asking it out, right? I think
Right.
that's a very good question because we don't really get what engagement is. I think it leads to us trying to measure engagement in a very strange
Right.
way, in a very rational
Mm-hmm.
way. That's not really
Yeah.
engaging, but at least we can tell ourselves that. Deep down, we feel good
Yeah.
about it. So I think,
Exactly.
I think it's a good way to good place to start. And what is engagement? I think if we follow up from what we discussed before, right? That marketing or meaningful marketing is a way to communicate a message or knowledge from one person to the next, right? In order for them to do something about it that sort of benefits your organization or your company or whatever. Engagement
Right.
would be being able to connect in a way that is meaningful, in a way that moves you, right? So by that notion, everyone is moved by something differently, right? Everyone
Yeah.
is
Exactly.
is stimulated by something differently, right? And that
Yeah.
is I think and that is trying to engage, right? It's just like when you have a conversation with a stranger story hashtag anyway. Just
Right.
that
Right.
when you're having a conversation with a stranger, sometimes you have a conversation with a stranger and it lasts 5 minutes. Sometimes you have a conversation
Right.
with a stranger and it's your whole journey, right, to the end, and then
Right.
you maybe even keep in touch after that, right? And
Yeah.
how do you then differentiate between the two? You were engaged. You felt that there was some kind of connection, something this person said or did that made you feel like, all right, this is interesting, or even
Yes.
better, oh my god, it's my kindred spirit. Oh my god, it's I always wanted to meet a person like this. I don't know, right? That's the other extreme. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah. This is
I
this is
think
what I felt when I met you for the first time. You remember I actually told you like I just love talking to you. At the first meeting, well, we are having this Google meetups.
yeah
But putting everything into the context, on there is of course online and offline engagement. So
yes
on online, as a digital marketer myself, we look at reaction, we look at comments, we look at how much it's being reposted, sharing, and we count those as engagement.
yeah
Right. And in the offline basis, I would say people actually, let's say, go to conferences
yeah
and they get into an engagement with potential customer or people with same interest.
yeah
Right. Now, we spend like any goal of a campaign is actually get as much engagement as possible. And I'm pretty sure you heard the saying that there is no good and bad engagement. It's just engagement, and every engagement is good, right?
yeah
And do you endorse the same idea?
I think that, and I think this goes to our topic for today, right? Engagement, is it a means to an end or an end in itself? And that's you're basically hitting it right, the nail on the head, right?
Yeah.
There is no good or bad engagement. So the fact is, if we have engagement, that's great. So that means engagement is the goal, but that's not the goal, isn't it? The engagement is a means to an end, or a means to something else. And I think that that's where we have this issues, basically, right? And that's why you have the metrics, and that's why the metrics sort of matter, because engagement is not the goal. Engagement is a way towards the goal. And what is your goal, right? Whether it is to get new partners, to get new clients, whether it is to get people to purchase, people to subscribe, whatever, right? Whatever your goal
Right.
is, that's the journey. And that's what's lost, I think, at the moment, because
Right. Absolutely.
you're so focused on you're patting your back on the engagement part, but you're not looking at what the engagement actually does. So, question being, if I have a newsletter with 10,000 subscribers, my mailing list is 10,000 subscribers, what does that mean? What does that mean to my
Right.
organization, right? Of that 10,000, only 1%, there's an open rate of 1%, maybe, right? And then,
Yeah,
but what
I-
does that mean? Kind of thing.
Right, right. You were spot on, because I really think businesses, they actually don't understand the goal and what engagement would bring to their business.
Yeah.
Right. In the initially we actually talked about like why engagement is important for your business. Is it for customer loyalty? Is it to tell the customer why it's related to them?
Yeah.
Or like what does it, what benefit it has for your business, and at the same time what will the customer get, or the person who is engaging to the content, what they will get.
Correct.
Right. You were talking about this newsletter, and often what we get, for instance, the CRM or any sort of like SaaS products, you get these basic newsletters, and you are using in marketing, you are using your tools like email marketing tools, Mailchimp, Marketo, and they are giving you these metrics, that the open rates, the click-through rates, and you actually compared. They have a very nice way to portray that your company is successful, because in the same industry, the open rate is much lower, but apparently your email open rate is much higher. But your goal was so that people would subscribe to your business, or they will sign up for a demo, those kind of stuff. But it's not really happening,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where, so the goal was for your newsletter, that your customer or the people you're sending it to, they will read it and they will find it beneficial, and it will tweak some kind
Yes.
of trigger or interest, that they might consider signing up for this free version or trials.
Yes.
Those kind of stuff. But often in marketing, what we do, we other than looking into the end goal, we take all these metrics and we put it up in front of our CFO that, this campaign is actually successful because next year we want the budget.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're absolutely right? Because unfortunately, from a digital perspective or even offline perspective, right? All these campaigns that you want to use to get people, and I'm using a very loose term here, right? It is, you need to justify the cost. You need to justify the cost of it. Even a simple Mailchimp campaign, the cost needs to be justified, right? And how do you justify it with these metrics, right? And then you show that it is better than the market, or is better than the field, or whatever. That means we're doing well. But the maybe the analysis is the problem, right? The metrics are good. It is a good thing, right? Because you have an objective measure and you have an objective milestone that you can then compare apple to apple. And that's why we have all these beautiful, you are above average, you're a genius, or whatever, kind of thing. But at best, what these metrics tell us is that you are on the right path. That something you did interest your group, it did interest your consumer. That is, at best, I think that's what it tells you. But we're not interested in that. We're looking at things as in, I think from a meaningful marketing perspective, we're not interested in whether you manage to somehow engage, somehow interest your audience. We are looking at what is the output from that. What is the output, right? So if we're output oriented in our campaigns, right, then these metrics is just a milestone. It's just a part of that journey, because that's not the goal, right? The goal is, say, for example, the newsletter. You open it up, and the goal is maybe to drive you to the website, for example. So your objective metrics shouldn't that click-through rate is just a milestone. Yes, a lot of people click through. Then the next step is how many people click into the website, right? Click through into the website. Sorry, open rate versus click-through rate, right? The open rate was good, but the click-through rate is not good. That means there's a missing link there somewhere. So you can identify that your headline for your title for your email maybe did the trick, but the content inside was not really hitting the mark, because what's our goal? Output oriented, right? And and if you tell me, oh no, the output is for open rate, then I think, my friend, you need to really relook at your marketing strategy, because
right, absolutely,
that's not really meaningful.
And I think that's where a lot of people sort of don't give the importance to copywriting, and how you present any sort of information, because they was like, oh, ChatGPT can do this, we don't need people for copywriting and stuff.
Absolutely.
So they think, see, like the goal of any tools. So at best, like it will contribute to your marketing goal, and at the same time it will probably cut down a lot of friction in your workflow, right?
Yes.
This is what these tools, like these marketing tools, they actually do, right? They makes the job easier, and they drive the whole system towards the goal, which is generate profit, or getting let's say really relevant customer, and tweak their interest, trigger their emotion, so that they will feel towards the product.
Yes.
And I think we are talking about email marketing, but at the same time, if you just go in general in content marketing, at the moment, where a lot of promotional activities are doing in all sorts of platforms, whether it's online or offline. You are putting up a banner, right? Then you are having this YouTube ad, you are having these 10-second, 12-second reels, whatever. It's all content that you want people to engage with. And the difficulty at this moment is attention.
Yes.
The attention span. You want to grab people's attention, and it's tough. It is tough. And marketers are going crazy. Like, how can we actually come up with colors, fonts, design, transition, so that the people will stay, on this 30-second ad?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And how can you achieve that? How can you actually hook the customer or hook the people so that they at least watch it? Right?
Exactly.
And you mentioned some few campaigns. I think you mentioned one with Apple, right?
Yeah.
What you find very particular about Apple, or about that campaign?
I think if we come from a content marketing perspective, right, as you mentioned before, and I like this idea, this content marketing. To be honest, I think the content approach, for me, I think that's the easiest way to, not easiest, but it's the most value driven way of transferring meaning. I think, right? Content.
Right.
Content is king. Some people say data is king. Other people say, but anyway, I think that the content is something that is very important, because that's what drives people to whatever it is that you're driving them to. But in the Apple case, for example, right, I think we had a discussion earlier, and like the new Apple phones, for example, they don't tell you about the technical specifications of the phone. Right? They don't tell you about how awesome it is. They just give you some graphic. It's a very simple sort of a logic, just to the narrative is very simple. It's just to tell you that the new phone exists, and maybe they'll throw in one new thing that is there, maybe a new software, a new whatever. But they don't give you a lot of technical specifications, because that what is engaging their customer, right? And by the way, even if we see the new iPhone 15, there's so many criticisms towards it, right? So many people saying that, also many industry watchers saying that there's nothing new about this phone. It's exactly the same as the previous one, plus a new chip.
Yeah, but there is always this noise, and that's surprising.
Exactly. And the best part is, Apple doesn't seem to care. Apple doesn't seem to care that you say that their phone is the same. That that I'm sure you saw this some parody videos, no, where they have the same phone and then people are just getting more and more excited when the new phone comes out, but it's actually exactly the same with a new cover or something. But Apple doesn't seem to care. They are marching to their own beat, and because of that, and that's a symptom of, as well as maybe a indication that they understand their consumer very well. They understand their target group very well. They know that they have a certain section of the market. They know that this market can be accessed through maybe the visuals, maybe the design, maybe the sleekness, and this tech stuff and these specifications. Not so important. This is not the market I'm going for. If you're interested, you're more than welcome to read the brochure, but you're not really my goal, basically, right? And then that's why we get people dutifully upgrading their phones every 2 years, regardless of what's in the market, right? So I think that's a very good example of engagement and content. Basically, they understand that their content is for this particular audience. They've obviously done it over 15 cycles, so they know exactly. Now it's a science already. It's no longer an art, right? They figured out the whole thing already. But the point is, they were willing to stick to that perspective. From the first to now, they're sticking to the same sort of narrative. They're sticking to the same sort of, even for all their products. Even I don't know whether you remember the initial ads for the iPods. I don't know whether you were old
I
enough
do. I
for an
actually
iPod.
remember the Mac. Mac one. When it first came out. So there is a guy who's very sleek and smart, and another guy who's like using Microsoft, and he's like trash. It's like big monitor it came up with, and the Apple guy shows up with this little computer which is very nice and very remote and handy, those kind of stuff. So it was a new cool thing.
Exactly, right? And they maintained that same narrative for the iPods as well. When the iPods came out, right? They just had I remember it was there's a outline of a person who's doing a dance of some kind, and they're using the iPods and is in white, right? The person is in black. The person is in black in color. It's just a silhouette. And then the iPod is in white, and then the background is just some loud color, pink or green or blue or whatever. Doesn't tell you anything about the iPod. It doesn't even show you how it looks like, right? It just shows you that it's white in color, right? But yet, people are attracted to it because of this sleekness, because of this, sophistication that it seems to put across. And they did that a lot through design, but the back end of that was content, was understanding what they were trying to say about the product, wasn't it?
Right. Another thing I actually noticed about Apple campaigns is, like, if you take a look something like Samsung and stuff, they will give you a lot of specification, this amount of zoom, like micro zoom, this and that. But Apple is very good at not telling but demonstrating. You probably have came across in Berlin that in the station you just have a big ass picture, very big banner, and it just said shot with iPhone, right? And that's a campaign. So when it comes to content, as a marketer, we always say about these three things: is your content educating, entertaining, or inspiring? Is there these three elements? Any of these three elements, does it exist in your content? If I'm scrolling through LinkedIn and I came across your PDF, why should I care? Like, what does it gives me, right? Is it entertaining to read? It will educate me about the topic, even if it's actually educating. Am I the right person for the PDF, or I would rather have a video explaining it?
Yeah.
So trying these methods, understanding the psychology of the customer. I think this corporation, the big corporations, what they have done, they understood what tweaks, or these whole social media platforms. It's really based on the psychology, like how they actually can grab your attention and keep it and feed you with what you want to see next. Right? And you stay in the platform. and that's their goal. And I think for B2B or B2C, any sort of business, they need to follow. It's like some. I'm not saying psychological manipulation, of course.
It's not some
But,
subliminal messaging.
Yeah, exactly. But a very subtle way, entertaining way to tell the story. And sometimes it's not a relevant story, but it's a story that they will remember,
Yeah.
right? I remember I told you about this chewing gum ad
Yes.
that I have seen when I was little, you know. And the main goal for this chewing gum was if you chew it, your teeth becomes white.
Yes.
That's it. And what they have done, they took a whole village, and in this village there is no electricity. And at night, these people actually chew this gum, and they went up to the pole and used their teeth as lights, street lights.
Yeah. Yeah.
and that is so ridiculous. I still remember it. I was like, what? And guess what? This $1 worth of chewing gum. If I go to the departmental store, there is like so many colorful chewing gum. I would actually pick that one.
Yeah.
Because I know it.
Yeah.
Because I am familiar to it.
Yeah.
So that in this point, I think it's not just about selling or it's making people interested. It's actually creating the affinity through your content.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I think you kind of it's touching on a very interesting point here. When you talk about the digital marketing and the content, right, either needs to be entertaining, educational, or inspiring, right? They are all words that you would associate with something emotional, right? That you are trying to create this affinity, but not just through the hard science of you are the profile customer that would match this according to our data, but that the voice itself is able to emotionally interact with you, and that's the challenge for engagement, right?
Right.
In the chewing gum advertisement you said just now, it's you were clearly entertained, right? It was so ridiculous that you were entertained by it, right? And therefore you remember, you create this like connection with the brand, right? With the product, So I think that is the nut that everyone is still trying to crack here. And the thing about the data being available is, rightly or wrongly, the data is able to give us a direction of where to go. But when we get there, we don't really know what to do, I think. That's the reason why engagement is still an open book. Engagement is still a black box, right? You still don't know what to do when you get there. So I get this consumer onto my platform. Yeah. And then... right, and then you try and keep them on there, and you said there's some psychology behind it, and that's why things like UX, for example, has been improved or optimized to ensure that attention is kept onto the app or the website or whatever. When new features are added onto an app, for example, shopping app, for example, right, it is intended to keep your attention span there, but we have to then also go back to why the customer would remain there. It's not because your UX is awesome. That just removes the annoyance of being
they just get rid of the friction, makes it easier for them to interact. That's the whole goal.
Correct.
But I think I don't know if you would agree, but I think in order to have a successful campaign or successful engagement, that a content that people are engaging with, I think the must have is you actually give the test of what it feels like to have your service or to have your product. In B2B it's probably a trial version or demonstration. In B2C it's probably some sort of giveaways. I remember one of my friend who was flying from Dallas to Doha, and he had economy tickets, right? Mm-hmm. And when he actually crossed the immigration and he was boarding, this cabin crew came up to him and he said, "Sir, we would like you to journey with us in our business class, and we upgraded your seats." My friends, they still don't know why it happened, but he actually took it, and the experience he actually had. I remember he would like sending me all the picture of the menu, how they actually took care with almonds and the smoothie in the beginning. It was he was really satisfied and content with the service.
Yeah.
Right. Because he wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
And if you take a look, like, why would Qatar Airways would do it? Why they would like put an extra cabin crew just for these two people, right? And it's actually creating the aspiration, giving the test of how does it feels like, how does it feel like if you actually fly business with Qatar Airways, right? Yes. Software solutions like Canva, Adobe, these are successful companies, right? Yes. And they would give you not just few days. Canva, they just became so prominent in last 3 years, I think. And they used to give a lot of free materials.
Yeah.
A lot of free materials, and the trials, and marketers and graphic designers found it really useful, and it gave the value.
Yeah.
And so once the trial is over, they actually missed it. I was like, oh, I wish I had Canva. It was easier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you are actually having these marketing campaigns, when you want to have content which will create engagement, are you actually delivering that?
Yeah.
Whereby your customer will think, it's actually kind of nice. And once you are not there, they will miss it.
Yeah.
I was like, that will make my job easier if I would just have that. Or for manufacturing industry, I think it's kind of tough for manufacturing industry because there is a lot of tier, right? You are probably the manufacturer of a very small part, right? But if you can show people how the end product actually looks and how they actually feels, right? I think it creates a lot of interest, and which is tough because I'm working in a manufacturing industry, and it's so tough to get your names out or the people you are working with, just to put a post out there, because you need to go through a lot of approvals because there is competitors involved. You can't just do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in that case, it becomes very difficult to be out there and giving the customers the experiences, because you really, so there we actually go back to the circle again. You have to understand which tier is your customer, and are you appealing to them with your content, right? We are like targeting development engineers, but who are actually really interested in technicalities.
Correct.
What grade, what sort of chemical,
Correct.
The chemistry between the product, this and that, and we are just posting about end products. It won't gonna create any engagement. Sorry to say.
That makes a lot of sense, right? This experiential component, the fact that you can try it out, whether it's B2B or B2C. So basically, if you think about it, your initial communication to your customer, right? If you're able to entertain or educate or inspire, right? You are already engaging this customer purely on your content, or purely on your visuals, or purely on your narrative, right? But at the end of the day, if you are selling a product or a service, right? When I get to try that product or service, even on a limited basis, I start to form my own affinity with the product that's not reliant on your narrative, basically. Your narrative is setting the expectation. Your narrative is setting the context But at the end of the day, when I'm there and I experience it, or when I get to try it, for example, the kata experiment, for example, or a free trial, 1 month free trial, or whatever software that you might get, right? I then start to create my own meaning with the product that is independent of what you, as basically you're a bias source, right? Because you're a marketeer for the product, right? So, but when I get to create my own sort of pathways to engage with this product, right? Then you can see either it meets the expectation or it doesn't meet the expectation. That's where your narrative comes in, right? If it meets the expectation, then okay, great. This was all right. This is what they say it is. If it exceeds the expectation, like the Canva, for example, right? It was a new product. It didn't exist 3 or 4 years ago, right? And then now it's become a staple. And because at the start, whatever their messaging was, it created the awareness. Yes, people tried it. Yes, and people found it useful. Like they created this bond with the product. So that's why if Canva were to start charging premium prices for their product, these group will convert because I have my own engagement. I have my own meaning with this product, right? I'm engaged. This product is engaging me, right? So I'm gonna keep using it. So you're absolutely right? So it goes back to the engagement is just it happens at different parts of the customer journey. The awareness part at the beginning, that is more reliant on you trying to create that engagement, force that create the engagement, right? Maybe artificially, maybe not. But once you get the person past the awareness stage, once you get them into the demo stage, once you get them into the pre-conversion stage, right? That's when your product needs to speak for itself. Your service needs to speak for itself, right? And then the benefits are, like you said, like the Qatar experiment, for example. They just upgraded your friend, right? And he it's a significant moment in his life, so he will always talk about it, right? So that level of engagement, even though he does not buy, he might never fly business class, he might never spend $10,000 or euros on a ticket. He's gonna talk about it. He's gonna tell people about it. That's free marketing. That's a free word of mouth sort of resource that you have sort of managed to get, right? So and it's true because last Christmas I was also upgraded unexpectedly on one of my journeys, and maybe this is what people do, right? I was taking photos everywhere. I was being very very unashamed to document this experience, because in my mind I thought this is once in a lifetime. I'm never gonna do this again. I'm never gonna do it. So I'm gonna I sent to all my friends, like I said, the menu, the leg room, the toilet, everything, just to share my excitement here, right? And hopefully for Emirates, that's a cost of acquisition basically that they would have normally needed to pay, someone to inspire them. You're being inspired by somebody you trust, right? So you take away the bias source out of the picture, kind of thing. So I think I think this experiential thing makes sense, and I think we talked about it also, like signing up for test drives for cars. This is the same thing, right? You might not be able to afford it.
Yeah, you can just sign up for test drive in Stuttgart for Porsche. Right? Like, why they have to do it? They don't have to. Everyone knows Porsche.
Exactly. So it's to give you that taste. But it is to give you that. I mean, if we're talking about physical products, right, like the airline, for example, or the car, for example, you get to engage so many senses here. Right, you get to, and that makes powerful connections. I mean, even if you look at neuroscience, that creates powerful connections because you can taste it, you can feel it, you can hear it, you can smell it.
Exactly.
It's a once in a lifetime experience.
Oh my god! And I want to tell you, and these sort of experiences, it's not just marketing. It actually becomes they becomes sort of like emotionally attached, and they become biased towards that airlines, towards that restaurant that gave them free sweets, or towards those Porsche test drive. And every time there is a conversation about airlines, and they always actually root for Qatar Airways because they have done this and that. I have experienced it by myself. This restaurant is actually better because they're kind, they're nice towards customers. So it's about creating those memories that you hold near and dear, and that actually becomes sort of like loyalty program,
right? Exactly. So if you think about a loyalty program or rewards program or a recurring customer, a customer who's coming back, you can also put that as an output of engagement, right? If I'm engaged in a way that is not positive, it is unlikely that I'm going to be a fan. It's unlikely that I'm going to be a recurring customer, a returning customer, right? But if I'm engaged in a way that is very positive, right? Then I will volunteer to promote this company, right? I will volunteer to promote this brand. I will volunteer information about myself to you, right? No, you don't even have to buy the data from a third party source. I'll give you the data. There was this example of Valencia Football Club in Spain, right? So during COVID, right, their engagement with, the ability of their fans to engage with the football club declined, either because there were no games at all because of lockdown, or stadiums were closed, and games were played behind closed doors. So that means that feeling of togetherness, the community feeling that you created when people come to the stadium and so on, is now absent. So Valencia needed to figure out smart digital ways to try and engage its customers, its fans. So what it did was, one of the things that it did was, it had a poll on its website for you to vote for your favorite jersey, whether you like it or not. It's an A/B test sort of thing, whether you like this jersey or that jersey. And in order to finish the voting, you will have to volunteer information. So your name, your email address, and maybe to opt into the newsletter. Those were the three things that they wanted, And basically, they just judged by the number of people taking the poll. Not by the people signing up, by the number of people taking the poll. And that showed you that people were engaged, that, people actually cared to vote for which is which. Because it's a very simple, very simple action to take. But in order for you to be interested enough, you have to like Valencia, right? You have to like football, maybe. You have to actually have an opinion about this jersey because it matters to you. Right, so I think that's a very good example of how you can find meaningful engagement through something very, very small, and then you get the output of it. And this output is, again, like I said, volunteered information. It's zero. What do you call that?
Yeah.
It's not a third party kind of thing. It's a zero party kind of thing. The person themselves is offering this information, and that is also another good output or another good measure to say, well, yes, it's working. Because people are volunteering stuff to you. Otherwise, they don't care. They just close the tab and move on, right? I mean, I don't want to give you my information, I think I don't want you to know who I am. So I think, so the idea of this engagement thing is it's a lot of the heart and the mind coming together, isn't it? The mind being the data concept that we talked about, right? And the data metrics and the trying to identify where your customers are, but it is the heart that you need to sort of engage in some way, but you need to move the needle. You need to, and that's how people start to care. I think that's why people start to feel that it's relevant for them. Just to build up on that Valencia example of football fans, right? That's the best form of emotional connection that you have, right? Because even when the team loses or
I think even in those kind of situation, I think what you mentioned, the sense of community, it really plays a very
and when you talk about
important
loyalty and retention, right? This is when it starts to. I think the idea of community helps in the post conversion before loyalty. Maybe there is a stage that has not really been defined yet, but post conversion before loyalty, I think this community aspect matters, right? Football clubs, for example, it's very clear to see the loyalty, right? You wear the loyalty, basically. You support this club and you buy the merchandise with this club. You wear it and it is meaningful for you when you wear it, and you choose the name of the player at the back and so on. But for things like Apple, for example, right? Again, we go back to Apple, but you have people who identify with this Apple community, right? And they use the whole Apple ecosystem, basically, right? They don't mess about, And Apple is not paying them any sort of loyalty bonus, kind of thing. But yet they stick to it because they see themselves as part of this idea of community. That there's meaning behind it. That I'm part of a thing bigger than myself. And this is all going. If you talk about the Maslow hierarchy of needs sort of logic, right? This is already going to level 3 or level 4 already, right? That you've achieved all these things, but it is
right.
evident that it is something that people need, consumers need, right? That is going beyond the product, that is going beyond the service, that is
Right.
going beyond the brand. And that's how you create this very engaging and very meaningful loyalty. And of course, like I said, this is going down the customer journey, but still relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, I think another example I would give is, even sometimes big brands, they actually take advantage of such sense of community from the people, because anytime there is a social issue, and I call it courageous marketing, they would actually jump in and support either side. So one or the other, right? So one of the big example was Nike's Colin Kaepernick. Right, for this, I forgot in the national anthem, he actually put down his knees or something, and it became such a big issue, and Nike was actually actively joining this campaign. Same with Serena Williams. They actually take these social causes and create story. And people who are actually buying Nike products, they actually feel like I'm part of it.
I'm supporting this cause somehow, right? Indirectly, I'm supporting this cause by supporting this brand.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, and to take it to the other perspective, right? Brands and companies have figured out that there are these social causes, for example, right? And then you have two very, very consistent causes that have been in the popular space, in popular culture, is the green initiative, right? Being renewable, being green, being environmentally friendly,
right.
And then you have all these companies jumping on the bandwagon, like McDonald's changing the cap for the cups and so on. And then on the other hand, you also have the LGBTQ movement, right?
Yeah.
And every month every year there's an awareness month, right? And then some companies just basically just change their logos on LinkedIn or whatever to the rainbow flag or whatever, right? But then there's been questions about that. Now it's like, how engaging is that, right? Are you just jumping on the bandwagon, or do you actually believe in it? And this is actually very interesting, because it brings about engaging and also meaning, and how authenticity matters, sincerity matters, right?
Exactly, and you can actually figure out, even on a lot of people's LinkedIn posts, that how they're actually exposing these corporations, because they are saying it's actually greenwashing. The kind of tactics they are using, and saying, oh, we are going towards a sustainable journey, carbon neutral, all these buzzwords they're using in the campaign, and same with these communities, this LGBTQ and whatnot. Even I would say, though, at the times of war, you would see the Ukrainian flags in every. So at the end of the day, some people probably they actually care about this stuff, and some might not. But yes, at the same time, it actually creates the question of authenticity, because I think as a marketer, we already know the hype, and then we are actually jumping into it. And as I would say, I don't know if it's a moral dilemma, the personal moral dilemma. It's like, if you are actually believing something and you're doing something good, such in the cause of war or anything, why publicize it?
Yes. I mean, there are definitely meaningful ways for the. I mean, yes, you want your brand to be associated with these positive causes, but I think there are some ways in which it is done properly, for example, or done well, and there are some ways where it clearly is it's just a trendy thing to do, right? They're just putting the flag or changing your logo. I think
exactly. And you always compare, because there is wars everywhere, and why you are selective about these sort of campaigns, why not you actually speak for all? So when you think about this, then it becomes a social activist company, rather than.
And I think a good example of a company that's done it well is Patagonia, right? Patagonia, the jacket, winter clothes company, right? They actually have sustained
Right.
efforts in trying to bring up this idea of sustainability, right? Either they enhance their products in order to make it more sustainable, or
And and
Exactly.
they're actually trendsetter. They don't jump into brand they actually came up with
Exactly.
stuff that they stick to, and
Exactly. Right.
others
And then-
actually
and-
follow.
and that's why it looks authentic.
That's the
Right?
difference.
Because even when people are not talking about it, it's not the popular flavor of the month, they're still doing it, they're still going about it because that's what they believe in. And then if
Right.
you want to be engaging to an audience that actually cares about this, then they will take you seriously. Say, oh yeah, and because you are striking the audience where it is important for them, or where they live, basically, right? The potential of creating a very loyal customer is very high. Right, because they would wear Patagonia, for example, and wear it with pride because they know what it represents, because it is a part of their identity, it's a part of who they are, right?
Exactly.
So, and this is very, I think it's very tricky territory for marketers, right?
It is, and I think a lot. I think majority of the company who are actually using this sort of marketing, they sort of like have this assumption that people actually wouldn't know, or they don't notice, and they don't know better. So, like, I'm actually telling these companies, like, people are not dumb. This is the information age, and they could see through your hypocrisy and that you are not authentic, right? And they have a lot of alternatives. So don't go out there and greenwash people with your buzzwords. Just be authentic. Share that what you really care for, and where you are lacking. Please go ahead.
And I think it goes back to what marketers as agents of this whole process needs to be aware of, right? I mean, we covered it in a previous episode. Know yourself, know your product, and know your customer, right? Do you actually know yourself, basically, right? And by that I mean, how knowledgeable are you about what you're doing, about the product you're selling, or about the you don't have to be super passionate about it. We don't have to have marketers who are very big on sustainability, for example, to work for a sustainability driven company. No, that's not the case. But do you actually know what is happening? And I mean, do you care beyond just making sure that the campaign is published on time, for example? Just making sure that the images or the visuals are what is prescribed by your client or by your management, for example.
Exactly.
Right? And I think there is a general need for consciousness, right? Even for marketeers, rightly or wrongly, but that, how do you communicate to somebody when you don't know what you're talking about? It's a simple question.
And I will actually say, like, in the first episode we talked about that marketing is not really complicated. It's very easy to delve into marketing and just market your product and services. See, like, marketing becomes difficult when you actually trying to sell your product to people who are not interested. And most of the time that's what we are doing. We're doing all sort of this campaign and not being authentic. We're trying to figure, put ourselves something that we are not, so that the people would get interested. But in a genuine sense, they don't want your product, and you are not really targeting the ones that would interest your product. You are not studying who will be your right customer, who are the viable people that would show you that interest.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And you are not looking into the goal of your engagement. Rather, you are just running after numbers.
Exactly.
Which eventually doesn't really mean anything. I think. What do you think too? We have a good discussion about the engagement in general. But I would say, if you are a business, if you are a startup, if you are B2B, B2C business, and you are actually struggling with your platforms, offline or online, with engagement and content marketing, just click the link below and contact us, and we will try to help you, and it's for free. We're not charging anything. I was like, if we have the skill, why not helping the people? And if you have a genuine product that you actually think is great, then we are here to help you out.
Yeah.
So click the link below, and we'll be there for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Take care.